Hello again, this is ST, and we are back with an attempt to continue our cycle, and today we are going to be taking on the worst ship in FTL. So this should be interesting. This video might be quite quick. Here's my stats. Oh, I'm at exactly 400 victories. I hope that doesn't stay the case after this video, because that would suggest that I've lost. So, we're playing Stealth B today. This ship sucks. The thing about this ship is you've got a glaive beam, and you're extremely vulnerable to this taking a hit. We'll actually go into the game and discuss this at a little bit more length, because this is the first time since I started uploading videos to this channel. This is the first time I've actually played Stealth B. My previous streaks that ended, I just never rolled this ship. So we're gonna go into the game, and we will go into some more detail. But first, you've got on this ship, like all the other stealth ships, you don't have shields. That's common. That's how all the stealth ships work, as I said. Unlike the other stealth ships, Stealth A and Stealth C both effectively have the same weapons. They've got... Stealth A has a dual laser and a mini beam, and Stealth C has a charge laser plus and a mini beam. The difference between the charge laser plus and the dual lasers is there is a very small difference. I think the charge laser plus is actually very slightly better, but it doesn't particularly matter. What's worth noting about these weapons is they're fast, and they require low amounts of power. So you get your shots off, and so even though you don't have any defenses, your protection is you can very rapidly knock off the things that enemies can hurt you with. Well, we have this glaive beam. It is one of the most powerful weapons of war ever created. It also has a charge time of 25 seconds. Now that's reduced to 22.5 if you man your weapons, which you absolutely critically must do. By the way, I've run the Zoltan out of the room because if, say, we get boarded and we have to run the Zoltan out of the room, I'm pretty sure the developers did this as a prank, that if you were to, say, have to do this, it could potentially depower depending on how your power is allocated at the time. Although there could be another reason why, but I don't think it is. We'll talk a bit more about that in a moment. But so yeah, the way this works there, this beam generally kills early ships in one swipe. It definitely does do that. It does 3 points of damage per room it hits. It's reduced by shields, but you generally start it in the shields. It will take down the one shield bubble. It'll hit that room for 2, and you can hit usually 3 other rooms and do 3 points of damage on each of them. So it's 11 points of damage. That kills basically everything in one swipe. The trick is actually surviving to get that swipe off. Because this weapon is so slow, you have level 2 cloaking at the beginning of the run, so you could theoretically pre-cloak. That buys you 10 seconds, but you still need then 12.5 seconds for the glaive beam to go off. And almost all weapons that you see early in the game, because enemies at the beginning of the game have no more than level 3 weapon power, they tend to have, 1 or 2 level 1 or level 2, they'll have like a common setup might be something like heavy laser and mini beam, which is a horrendous setup actually to see for this ship. And both of those weapons are faster than what you can possibly pre-cloak. On easy and normal, the enemies mostly target your rooms at random, so you're generally safe. You'll probably get hit, but you can... And of course, if enemies are firing projectiles at you, you can cloak, but the thing is, you can't cloak... you cloak like this, it's plus 60%. That gets me to 80. There's still a 20% chance that I'm going to take a hit. The other thing is, on easy and normal, the enemies will target mostly at random. On hard, however, the enemy will target 25% of their shots off a priority list. It's called smart targeting. I'll read the whole list out to you because you can sort of see some of the problems with Stealth B. This is the full list, and this is directly from the devs, so we know that it's accurate. They always target your shields. Well, we don't have any shields, so that's not on the list. There's engines and piloting. If your evade is above 25%, it's not. It's at 20%, so those aren't on the list. Weapons. Well, we've got weapons. They can target those as a priority target. Drone control, assuming you have drones. We don't have drone control. Cloaking when the system's not on cooldown. Well, that's also a thing on the targeting list, although that's also very bad to have hit. Artillery within 4 seconds of firing, we don't have that. Door control if the ship's currently on fire or if there are intruders. That can sometimes happen if there's intruders, but that's generally not the case. Oxygen if it's below 50%. Clone bay if the crew are currently being cloned. Well, we don't have a clone bay. Hacking if it's currently in progress. We don't have hacking. Mind control if that's currently in progress. We don't have mind control. And teleporter if that's currently in progress. We don't have that. So we only have 2 systems that can come off the priority list, and they are weapons and cloaking, which are both the worst things that we could have hit. I mean, that's generally the point of the priority list, but you at least have it spread out on other ships so that it's not like specifically that awful thing. Now, one critical strategy for making this more survivable, you'll have heard that it targets oxygen if it's below 50%. So we are going to vent our ship to get the oxygen to below 50%. This is a critical survival tactic, because this way, instead of them only having these 2 rooms, if they do a priority shot, they have 3 rooms. We want to get the oxygen as near to 50, we want to get it to like 49 exactly, and I can't remember precisely which rooms we need to vent to do this. I'd like to keep oxygen in the oxygen room itself if possible, because if it does take a hit, I need to run in and fix it. One possible strat is to jump out with it at like 55% and then vent it down as a battle starts, because, you know, it'll take them a while to charge their weapons up. Another strategy that you can employ, they don't target your weapons if they're not powered. So if you have very, very, very good micro, you can depower the glaive beam right before the enemy fires, or right before they target you rather, which is at a slightly different moment, and you need to know when that moment is. It's sort of when the charge on the weapon turns green. If you can depower the glaive beam for like a frame or 2 right before that happens, you can remove it from the priority list without losing that much of its charge. I'm not going to be doing that because I'm not particularly confident in my ability to pull that off. You sort of need to micro-pause to do that and do it really, really precisely. I know Mike Hopley, who's basically a wizard at this game, has a trick where he runs the Zoltan to the sensors room, and he can time, based on how many times it takes to run the Zoltan back and forth, where the weapons are in charging. I'm not good enough to pull that off, so I'm going to just use the O2 venting trick, which does reduce our odds slightly, but... what you want to do on this ship is get Cloaking 3 as soon as possible, because the way the math works out is Cloaking 3 gives you a 15-second cloak. You pre-cloak with that. That means your glaive beam only needs 7.5 more seconds to charge. That's faster than almost anything that you fight early in the game. About the only weapon that's faster than that really is an Ion Blast 2, and you don't see those early. And then you do that, and then you can usually one-shot enemies before they get to fire. There are still enemies that are dangerous when you've done this, like any enemy that has cloaking of its own will delay your shots. Any enemy that has hacking might hack your cloak or your weapons and stop you from using the strategy. Obviously, any enemy with drones is particularly dangerous. I mean, drone enemies are dangerous on the stealth ships generally, but they're specifically dangerous for Stealth B, because since it takes so long to fire the glaive beam, it's just more likely that in the, numerous times that it's flitting around your ship that it will target your weapon. And if it hits your weapons once, you're screwed. Stealth A and Stealth C are actually kind of advantaged by the fact that they only start with weapons 2, and they have 2 low power weapons, which means that they can, if they need to, they can spend their first 25 scrap on a weapon buffer. That's a hell of a lot cheaper, half as much, as getting the cloak up, and you don't need to power it. And then one hit on weapons doesn't matter, as Stealth B doesn't have that option. You need 50 scrap to damage buffer your weapons. You can't do that because of another problem that we're going to get into in a moment. So your goal generally is to get 50 scrap to get Cloaking 3 as soon as possible. On hard mode, you get between 12 to 19 scrap per jump, which for a medium scrap reward, that is, I should say, which means on average you should do it with 4 medium scrap rewards. You might even get lucky and do it with 3. However, you can get unlucky and have it take 5, especially if you get a low scrap reward battle like an auto scout, or not an auto scout, a forward scout or something like that. It may take you 5 battles to get the thing you need for just basic safety. And the thing about this ship is, of course, if you take one hit on weapons, you lose all the accumulated charge in the glaive beam. You've probably been hit through a cloak, because you're actively cloaking all the early shots, which means you won't have cloaking for further volleys. When you finally fix the weapon, you'll have to start charging it up again. It will take forever. So you're very, very susceptible to bad RNG with this ship, more than any other. The second big problem with this ship is the glaive beam doesn't scale well. Because, yeah, you do 3 damage, so you can, when enemies turn up with 2 shield bubbles, you can still damage them with this. The problem is you don't do enough to one-shot anymore, and especially if enemies, say you get to Sector 3 and an enemy has level 5 shields, which is 2 shield bubbles and the buffer. If you start with a tick on shields, you're doing 1 point of damage. That doesn't bring a shield bubble down, which means you're only doing 1 damage per room. Whereas at the beginning of the game, whether they have Shields 2 or the Shield Buffer upgrade, which is Shields 3, you're doing 2 points of damage. It's taking the Shield Bubble down regardless, so the Glaive Beam will one-shot. So before Sector 3, you really need to get some way to deal with shields, except the problem is you've already got this really expensive weapon. You need to spend 50 scrap getting your cloaking up. Then if you were to acquire, say, a 2-power weapon, you'd need to spend 125 more getting the weapons up. You would need to acquire the weapons somehow, and you don't get crew kills easily with this ship because there's no safe fights. So you generally don't get very many drops with this ship. So you need to spend the scrap acquiring the weapon, and at some point you probably also want shields, which will cost you 125 scrap. The single best thing that can happen for scaling this ship is you want to get hacking, and then you immediately upgrade that to level 2, because then you can shield hack. But you can't necessarily rely on that happening. Of course, you also start with 0 drones, by the way, so, I mean, you'll probably have accumulated some or died by the time acquiring hacking is a realistic option. But still, that's also kind of a problem. So, those are the 2 huge problems. The ship has a bunch of other, multitude of lesser problems. For example, you acquire skill more slowly than any ship in the game. Like, trying to max your weapon skill out on this is a disaster. You can't really train unless you fight that one Mantis ship that uses just a single ion, because you can't allow the enemy to fire at you. So you can never get dodge training, which would be extremely valuable on this ship. All hazard beacons are a nightmare. Asteroids for obvious reasons. Solar flares go off and set loads of fires because you have no shields. You can't deal with low power battles because the glaive beam requires too much power. It literally, if at the beginning, if you were to get a low power battle, you'd be able to acquire the power of the glaive beam, and you have your Zoltan to provide 1 other power for anything else. It's just not enough. You can't deal with pulsars because the pulsar goes off before the glaive beam. If it hits your weapons, you're screwed. There's just so many things that you are weak to on this ship. I think I have gone into that enough. We need to play these early sectors really, really carefully. Well, this early sector really, really carefully. Fortunately, we do have long-range scanners. That is an essential thing for this ship. You would just be completely screwed without it. So the critical thing now is to get 50 scrap by any means necessary, absolutely as quickly as possible. We're going to take this really, really slow, because if we have any fights, we don't want to lose this streak the way we lost the last one by picking a bad fight that we could avoid. So let's stop rambling and let's go, and let's see if I'm going to die on the first jump. Also, let's jump out doing this, and that will start reducing my oxygen already. So, first enemy. Well, I don't like this at all. These have extremely dangerous weapons. They've got We can't avoid this fight. We have to take it. And we can kill this ship, I think, with one shot. It's just a matter of whether we survive to get the shot off. We just have to hope our cloaking cloaks these and that they don't fire at my weapons. Let's reject their offer. So we want to do this shot. If we do it, we're going to kill them. We'll do 2, 3, 3. And they have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So we'll do 11 damage and we'll kill them. But yeah, these are extremely dangerous weapons, and we just have to cloak and hope we don't get hit at 20%. And the flak, of course, is going to cluster in one area. So if they flak my weapons down, I'm probably just going to die. We need to cloak at exactly the right moment, which is now. You fucking dickhead! I got hit twice through cloaking. I think we're going to die here now. I mean, we have to escape from this. Of course, when our cloaking runs out, by the way, they're going to be able to keep hitting this. So we just need to run the hell away. We need to fix our weapons. We need to be very careful with this Zoltan, because having them in the room actually makes them more likely to target this system again. So I need to, like, dodge them out every now and again. Of course, that slows my repairs down, but what can I do about that? Having them not in engines also reduces my evade, but what can I do about that? They're about to fire. Okay, they can go back in there now because they've fired. Our Zoltan is just about to die. I actually need to get my oxygen up to run them to the med bay. Like, they've completely taken my weapons down. They've killed my weapons person. I think I'm just dead. Yeah, they've taken my engines out. I'm dead. I'll cloak now to buy myself time to fix things. But yeah, they've... First fucking jump. Complete unavoidable RNG wipe. That's stealth B for you. I've got through so many bad ships on this streak, but we have just got killed straight off by getting hit twice on... You know, they hit my weapons 4 times. Or no, they hit my weapons, well, they hit my weapons 4 times with flak and once with the heavy laser. So, like, what was I supposed to do? Even if we escape from this, we're dead anyway. We've already, well, by the time we get out, we'll have taken 20 damage and lost a crew member. No, we'll have lost 2 crew members. And yeah. So we're just completely dead. First jump. There's no way on Earth we survive to actually get out of this. This was an unavoidable battle as well, unlike the Mantis Sea disaster. I guess we cloak to see whether there's some possibility that I can... But yeah, like if that flak had fired at just any other room, if it had fired at my oxygen or my... Well, my doors would be a little close to my weapon. But like anything else, and I survived that and I killed this ship. But because it hit my weapons, I just died. We'll see whether somehow... But, like, their next heavy laser shot kills me, and I don't have any evade. Yeah, we're dead. So, first jump, absolutely zero I could have done about it. That's a pure RNG wipe, and I'm so fucking angry because we had cleared off so many terrible ships on this streak. And we just needed to get through this one. But it's literally nothing I could have done about it. I pretty much pressed start and lost the run. Well, I hope you enjoyed my rant about how terrible Stealth B was, which is immediately followed by a demonstration of how terrible Stealth B was. And we'll start the next streak another time when I feel more in the mood to play this game. So, bye for now.